Hey YouTube, Muchismo Eugene. Another video from Exit Strategy. This is a Friday around noon, and I must make this video quickly while it's on my mind and on my heart. I was going to title this video "The Best Video Never Heard." Oxymoron there, but I will title this video as I'm being led to title it. I understand what my boy means when he said downloads. God will give you things to say, and you must say them, and you must say them in a timely fashion, because if you don't, you'll lose it. So the title of this video, I believe, will be Narcissism in the Extreme is just as worse as the narcissist itself. Narcissism in the extreme is just as worse as the narcissist itself. We know the narcissist, we know that they're vile, we know that they are empty, they have no substance, they have no ideal of what's right and wrong to a strong degree, because they're so prone to do all the things that are, in a matter of speaking, wrong in society. But what they do is they manufacture their persona to seem like they're going along to get along. They're doing the things that are noteworthy, honorable. They're basically Jekyll and Hyde, or they got two personalities, a fake one and a real fake one. So I'm going to talk about not so much the narcissist with the personality disorder. I'm going to speak to us, the ones of us that are not narcissists, but we have extreme amounts of narcissism. Now, as we know, or as you may or may not know, narcissism is a component in every human being. We have to have that to some degree, because it's what balances us as human beings. Ambition, you can say, I'll use the word greed. Well, that might be a strong one, but we have ego, we have a grandiose way of thinking. We think highly of ourselves, sometimes more than we should. And the good book says, think more highly of another than you do yourself. So, and again, I'm going to be talking about scripture. I'm going to be throwing some stuff out there scripturally. And for all you guys that don't read the book, you don't believe in the book, this is not something that doesn't pertain to you. It pertains to you as well. You take what you will from this video. I would encourage you, sooner rather than not, just embrace the idea and the approach of the book. Because if you haven't given it a real chance, you won't know if there's anything in it that can change your life. I'm living proof that it will. This is notwithstanding the church itself, the body of Christ, that I knew formerly as the church. Now, there is a body of Christ, and I believe it consists of predominantly chosen one and empaths. I don't believe it's what we see as the traditional church. That is, I believe, just as far-fetched as, just anything that, that doesn't make reasonable sense. But in our rationale, we're conditioned to believe that because it looks good, it is good. Now, narcissism is, and again, this is going to speak to some of you believers, Christians, who think that you are centered in God, you're centered in the church, you're centered, and your life is just what God wants it to be. I'm here to break your heart in many ways, in a good way. First of all, your ego. First of all, let's give a real practical example. Myself, I'll take as an example. When someone walks in a room or someone approaches you that you're acquainted with, it's like, hey, how are you doing? They would say, hey, how are you doing? And you would reciprocate with basically the same dialogue that they're approaching you with. You are doing what is expected of you. You're doing what you believe you need to do in response to that person. And since I've awakened, I've realized that to be you and to be authentic, let's take that same scenario. Guy walks up, hey, how are you doing? and I'm talking to someone, most often this is what happens as an empath. You awaken, you see every time you're in conversation with one person, it could be a total stranger or whatever, you draw attention of many people all around you. You also draw the attention of this so-said friend that's acquainted with you. And what this friend will do, because they don't know how to control their narcissism, their impulsivity causes them to interrupt, and they may say, oh, excuse me, and that'll come at the ass end of the interruption. They will interrupt you first, and then, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you guys, what you were talking about. Just wanted to say hello. Now, etiquetely speaking, those who are high-minded and think that they're very etiquetely correct, they would come and stand there, and they would probably just annoy the hell out of you until you give them the eye or the nod to speak. Either way it goes, the same scenario. You, on the other hand, you're doing what is expected, or I'm doing what is expected of me. I'm doing what that person just did to me, and that's one scenario or example. And another example is if you are obnoxious. And again, taking me for example, I used to always clown. I used to always, everywhere I go, hardware store, everywhere, just, walking on cloud nine, just a happy, jubilant person for the most part. That's just in my spirit. But I would go over and beyond exerting my happiness out and about. And what this translated in to with many people, I'm sure, narcissists included, because they love to downplay your worth, sabotage your character. Oh, he's so arrogant, he's so arrogant. And then those who are non-narcissists, who have extreme cases of narcissism, they actually, I told you before, I'll keep telling you, the narcissist trains non-narcissists how to behave and act and become narcissistic. Not disorder, but to the extreme case, you start mimicking and patterning your life after the narcissist. Take rap today. Take rap where the guns and the gunplay. Every video when you talk about rap music, it's a gun. I'm waiting to see Drake with one in his pocket, if he hasn't already. They talk about the ops. That was the big word before all these other words came out. Ops, ops, ops. So everybody's in opposition against you, and that's what the substance of your rap is about. Now, that is an example where narcissism is in the extreme, and in many cases, there are a big amount of these rappers who are narcissists. I'm gonna say it because a lot of people know it, and we won't speak on it. And again, listening to this type of music, with the contents that's within it, the words specifically, not the beat, because the beat draws you in. This is what attracts us to the music. First of all, the beat, the sound, the music, whether it's an instrument or a drum beat or whatever it is, that draws us in. And so now we know why Satan was the minister of music, and he had a persuasion like no other. Beethoven had nothing on Satan. Now, he distorted what was good and turned it into evil, by the way. I don't know how that happened or why did it happen that way. That's kind of where the non-Christian or un-Bible believing people kind of put us believers in a corner of sorts. But those are the hidden things with God. I just have to accept. When I say I have to based on my own belief and what God is in my life and how he's manifests himself to me. Certain things I leave as they are because God has shown me so many other things that are pertinent to my life, is where I'm going with that. Now, you would act obnoxious, going in places and be obnoxious, or I would be obnoxious and just really, really over the top. So now, I'm to a point now that I've awakened through all this madness, and it makes so much sense to me. That's not even who I am. That's not what I am called to do or be. So even with my unique presence, that God gave me, as well as He did all these empaths and chosen ones. We have a unique character trait, and He's given us that. But He's given it to us to appropriate it in the proper way. How do we do it in the proper way? He said, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all things shall be added. And He also says, lean not on your own understanding, but in all things acknowledge me. I'm going to direct your path. I'll show you which way to go. Take it or leave it. Do what you will. This is what the blueprint is. God has given the blueprint. The Bible is that blueprint. And so to wrestle with it, I believe it would just take, it would be an exhausting thing to wrestle with it. When we've accepted everything from the world, hands down, without even any convincing. They didn't have to twist our arm to get us to buy into the cocaine, the beer, the alcohol, the drug scene, the marijuana legalization. Everything that we've bought into, we don't argue that. But to have a wholesome, solid, serene life is on the other side of all of that stuff. And the best way, the only way to get there, you have to go through that book. That book is the roadmap to get you where you need to go. In light of the fact that you may lose your direction time to time, meaning veer off, not apply it wholeheartedly to life, it conquers all of the chaos. That's the best way to say it. So back to where I'm trying to go with the obnoxiousness. That's narcissism in the extreme. You're doing, or I'm doing, what I believe is expected of me. I go in a place or an environment and I see the same people, I behave the same exact way. It becomes repetitive and robotic. Once you're awakened, you act just whatever damn way you please. And most of the time, that may not be the same way every time that person sees you. Because as a normal, healthy human being, an empath or a chosen one, we are consistent in our substance, in our authenticity. But what doesn't stay the same is our evolution. Our evolution goes on different plateaus. It's like a wave. We ride the wave. So every time that person sees us, they may not get that same person that they're expecting. We've never changed from one minute to the next. But what has changed is their perception of us, because we didn't show up in the way that they are accustomed to. This is why narcissism in the extreme is just as worse as narcissistic personality disorder. And it's getting so grim to the point where you got a lot of content creators, do what you got to do. I'm on here as well. You are going to have to, as empath and chosen ones who are awakened survivors, you're going to have to pick through. And it's not hard to pick through if you limit yourself to what I want to believe is solid, sound, consistent knowledge of what healing is for you in the path of healing. If it's progressive, if it's going forward, if your healing is taking 2 steps forward and 10 steps back, it most often is because of the content creator you are ascribed to. If you're ascribed to or subscribed or ascribed, not even subscribed, if you are attuned to any content creator here who's talking about this subject of MPD, which is spiritual, is a demonic curse that has been given to the person who accepts it. And so you have to be able to find a sound center, point of center. You don't need a lot of content creators to help you correct the behaviors and the traumas that you're dealing with, because you can get so consumed with this one or that one to the point where this is so much to process. This is already a lot to process after you came out of it. Limit it to what you can digest. Don't overwhelm yourself with this type of stuff. Even myself, I'm going through ups and downs because I would like to do a lot more videos. I would like to be connected a lot more. And I think in time, if I continue to follow the path that God has for me, it should happen as it's supposed to. But that'll depend on me. And I don't hold anyone accountable or responsible for that path that I'm walking, and nor should you. So when things go left because of you're listening to the wrong information, you don't want to pick the good book up, you don't want to do anything, you go into this isolation of sorts, thinking you're gonna figure this out on your own, looking at a guy like me and saying, well, this guy doesn't know anything, what does he think he is? That's not the right approach to take. You can have your opinions of anybody and everybody, but the thing is, that opinion of anyone should not be contingent on your healing. It should be, the opinion should be just that, but what's your healing, what's contingent on your healing is whether you're getting the stuff from us that is pertinent to you and your life going forward. If it's not helping you move forward, if what I'm saying is not something that you, in the back of your mind, like, wow, I've thought of such a thing, now it's been put in perspective. If that's not what you're hearing in some of us content creators dialogue, you must cease and desist, take a break. Maybe that video from that person, myself included, might not apply to what you're dealing with. It may not even have anything that is remotely dealing with anything that you can use. You don't have to like and be okay with every video from that content creator. So all in all, too many content creators can be a bad thing, and that could be the extreme narcissism in you too, because we always need to hear what we want to hear. But when we hear something that is challenging to our change, we tune out and we turn that off. We're so busy and we're so accustomed to getting along, to go along, going along, to get along. We don't want to raise no feathers. We don't want to. We don't want to cause no bumps in the road. We don't want to offend no one. You should feel offended because you shortchange yourself and not struggling enough to grow. Because growth is struggle. If you're not struggling, most often you're not growing. We struggled a lot in this madness before we knew we were in a cloud. Now the fog is lifted. We don't have to struggle for anyone but self. Struggle for yourself, determine yourself to try to be the best human being that you possibly can be. How do I become the best person I can be? When I've taken all these cues from the narcissist. Okay, disengage, look and introspect, look within you. What is it that makes you happy, with or without money, people around you, having what you want, and doing what you want? What makes you most happy? Get a piece of paper and a pen. If you can't think it out, sometimes you have to put this on paper, because sometimes your thoughts, you can't have a conversation with your thoughts unless you put it on paper. Once you can see it and visualize it, then it makes sense. Then you can apply it. You can put application behind it. So this narcissism in the extreme, bouncing around a few places, but this is all pertinent to how I believe narcissism, in which we all, every human being on the planet Earth, has it. This is very, very much a problem in 2023, just as much so as narcissistic personality disorder. And in that way that I mean, the lines are so blurred. No wonder it's so hard many times to determine, is this person a narcissist or isn't they? He sure acts like a narcissist. She sure has a lot of narcissistic behavior. As I said before, don't panic. Get off the gas pedal, put it on cruise control. Observe, apply knowledge for you, which equals into growth for you, then you'll begin to see the extreme narcissism versus narcissistic personality disorder. You'll be able to see the blurred lines. You'll see the differentiation between the two, and then you'll also see how closely related they are. All in all, what I'm saying is, if you got friends that are severely narcissistic, have severe narcissism, that may not in fact be narcissist. They're almost like the hyenas in the Lion King that were subservient to Scar. They don't like him, but they feel like he holds the keys to the kingdom. Rather than go out and feed themselves, they're subservient to him. What do we do? Where we go and hunt, Scar? We need you to give the okay. Don't let your narcissism allow you to be controlled and programmed by the narcissist. Because the CEO in the company being a narcissist, and you have narcissism, which you've grown up around all your life, which is cousins and sisters and brothers who are arrogant, obnoxious, say they're sorry, but they don't care. They don't really mean it. You know, they say they're sorry, but they justify what they did at the same time. This is the narcissism. It almost makes a person with narcissism look like they're heartless, which is the narcissist. Now, this is a video that I don't believe is I've never heard one that's talked about narcissism and narcissistic personality disorder in same proximity on a parallel. And they, to me, I've seen this, and starting with myself, once you awaken from this, myself awaken, I don't even choose to be or behave like these idiots. But okay, watch this. It's not over because I'm awakened. Narcissism in me has to be not so much put to death on a daily. In many ways, a lot of it has to be put to death in certain instances. I don't think you'll overkill narcissism in you because there's a drive that you have. It's innate to your nature. But what I have to believe is necessary for me as an individual, so I can be useful of God, is to continue to be mindful of the things that are above, the things that are bigger than me, the callings that He has for me, the things that I can do to contribute and to pour out into society. And I'll tell you, extreme narcissism can be this volunteer person going here doing this, and you think you're going to have a front row first class seat in heaven because you're always volunteering and doing this. This is extreme narcissism too. Along with the narcissist, you going down to the shelter to do volunteer work, and you working shoulder to shoulder with a narcissist. And what you're doing is you're getting brownie points for the narcissist. But in the case, you're actually in extreme narcissism mode to the point where you're looking down on people, the same people you're there to help. So this is what it does. It causes your heart not to be as pure as it needs to be. This is what narcissism does. It throws a monkey wrench in your silent sound substance as a person. So be careful while we're watching and talking about the narcissist. We have to hold under subjection our narcissism. And in order to do that, humble thyself in the sight of the Creator, and He will exalt you in due time. This is how you do it. There is no science behind it. There's nothing complicated. But how do you humble yourself? It says, lean not on your own understanding, but in all things acknowledge Him. He will direct your path. Him, God. And it goes on and on and on. I can go all over the place with it. how God shows you exactly how to come to the point of submitting to Him, thereby breaking down the narcissism in you. You have to submit to something in this world in order to live and survive. But I'm going to tell you something. We've submitted to everything but God in the past. We've submitted to ourselves, to our thirst, lust, greed, hatred, murderous thoughts, character assassination, which is backbiters. I don't want to be any of that. Even when I have something bad to say about bad people, I often resist, notwithstanding the narcissist. We're going to forever talk about their asses. They're destroyers of anything good. They're destroyers of existence. You heard what I said? They are destroyers of existence. They don't even exist. They're not controlled by themselves. They're not making their sound decisions on their own. Their decisions are coming from the atmosphere, which are the dark energy, the dark spirit, and they're going from one idiotic programming to another. They're never consistent. Don't seek to be like these people. The good books say, come from among them. Have no fellowship with them. And I used to think that this was talking about me as a believer not being with unbelievers. Well, unbelievers, how are they here unless they have a preacher? How will these people who don't believe in God know about there's a God unless you, the believer, talk to them about God? Okay, so I know it doesn't mean that. What it means to me now is that he said, have no fellowship, come, don't cast your pearls to swine. I mean, this is the epitome of narcissism. God is basically saying, listen, watch how you move, man. Know who's who. Don't give things that you possess, which is your energy, your time, your money, your resources, whatever, your attention, your compliments. Don't give any of that to these garbage-minded people. It's going to cost you. Because when you give once, they're obsessed. They're addicted. And once you do something once for one of these people, you give them $1, next time they see you, they want to shake your arm off. Hey, man, thank you for that. I appreciate that. You didn't have, you got $2? That's a never-ending thing, man. And I know that sounds like it speaks to the homeless, but I'm just trying to tell you, hey, ain't that many homeless people here in this city. People who are homeless here in this city choose to be homeless. And there's videos out here on hobo narcissists. Google that and listen to a video on hobo narcissists. You'll look at the homeless in a whole different way. That being said, bless.